All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have the patch notes for Rogue and Coulson, and it is good. They're good. They're good patch notes. I'm not gonna scare you right at the beginning of the video. However, so it's happening tonight. Let me give you all the details here first before we start doomsaying. So it's happening tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which is 10 p.m. Eastern. So starting at around 10 p.m. Eastern, you'll be able to close your game, reopen it, and you'll get a patch, right? You'll get a download, a prompt, and then you'll download it. There's no maintenance. This is not a full update. This is a mid-month update. I'll be live on YouTube here tonight at 10 to check everything out. It's the first live stream I've done in a while, so it's gonna be a hype one. Make sure you don't miss it. We'll have some really fun stuff on the live stream to just kind of celebrate the end of the year and kind of hype you guys up, because I know the updates have not been doing that. So I'll do my best to do that. Anywho, as far as the uniforms go, they're available from tonight until the 12th. That's right, the 12th of January. So that's more than 2 weeks. That's actually 2 weeks and a day and a half. So holy shit. They really have nothing else for us for the next 2 weeks. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy grinding, boys, because we're gonna be doing a lot of grinding. The YouTube channel is gonna have to get real creative with some of the videos I put out, because there's not a lot. There's not a lot to talk about once we get through Rogue and Coulson, but we do have a lot to talk about as far as Rogue and Coulson goes. I'm just sort of preparing you guys for 10 days from now when I'm doing sexiest world boss legend or some shit. Some dumbass shit like that, which I've already done. Okay, so for Rogue, she's available for holiday tokens. If you guys are not familiar with this, they give you 10 tokens after a week, and then you have to pay real money to get the other 20 tokens. That's the only way to get the tokens. There's no other way to get the tokens. So you have to spend real money. You have to buy a pack in-game. It's not like you're just spending money for the tokens, so it's not like it's actually kind of value. I don't want to go too into the weeds on this one, but yeah, you spend $20 or $30 on a pack. You get crystals, whatever you get, whatever you bought, and then you also get tokens, which then you use to buy the uniform. But yeah, for people who can't spend money, it sucks and you're kind of screwed. However, they did make Rogue quite strong, at least on paper. So let me tell you why. Her uniform effect has changed almost completely. They took away the heal that her uniform effect had. It was a really bad heal, by the way. And they kept the 33% chance to increase her crit damage. And then they just added the skill damage bonus damage, and they added the chain hit. So she had no chain hit before, and she had no skill damage bonus damage. Skill damage bonus damage by itself is pretty insane. So those two buffs are pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. That and the chain, these are two pretty crazy buffs. Her tier 2 passive stays almost the same. She gets basically the same guaranteed dodge, the same buff effect and duration, and then the damage decrease increases by 8%. It goes from 22 to 30. Again, remember, these numbers, right? These numbers get increased by the buff, because these are all buff effects, so they get bumped up by 20%, I believe. So yeah, it gets pretty crazy. And then her crit rate, her rally boost passive, 20% crit rate, 30% crit damage. Those are the same, I believe. And then they changed the third one, which was like debuff duration. They changed that to super armor, and then 30% all defense, which is very, very nice. These are much more useful effects. So yeah, especially for PvP. But we'll talk about why she's basically not usable for PvP anymore, because when you look at her skills, they removed her iframe ignore counterattack. So that's the only downside to this uniform, is they removed the counterattack iframe ignore. It kind of doesn't make sense that they gave her the super armor all defense if they were going to remove the counterattack iframe ignore, but sure, I don't know, whatever. It kind of doesn't matter, I guess. They're clearly making her for PvE. Like, these are huge PvE buffs, massive PvE buffs. So yeah, the all defense just makes her tanky for very, very high-end world boss legend content, I guess. Because ABX, ABL doesn't have any kind of difficulty where you need to worry about super armor and all defense. As far as her skills go, she has Fracture, she has Paralysis, she has Shock, and she has Silence. So she has a mixture. She has 2 of the 3 ABL effects and 2 of the 3 ABX effects. She's missing Snare and she's missing Burn. We can't see her tier 3, so presumably it's the same. The tier 3 only adds Stun right now, so the tier 3 shouldn't add any new effects. It might, but who knows. But yeah, so she, is clearly slated for ABX ABL, and you'll see why she's even more slated for ABL later on. But yeah, she is missing Snare, so you'd have to tier 4 her to get like the maximum value, or do like a swap play kind of thing to get that Snare action. As far as the actual skills go, they gave her a heal here, a 15% heal, which is actually going to get bumped up by, what is that, 20%? So 15 times 1.2. It's going to be an 18% heal, and instead of lasting for 1 second, it's going to last for like 1.3 seconds. So it's actually going to trigger twice. So it's actually almost a 40% heal. It's very, very nice, because remember, everything gets affected by the buff effect and buff duration. Rogue is basically just a better version of Captain Marvel. Let's just put it that way. She keeps her accumulation. She keeps her reflect, which is interesting that they kept the reflect but took away the iframe ignore. Kind of doesn't make any sense. And then she gets the invincibility and she gets the frenzy buff. So yeah, she keeps all of her other buffs. All of her skills deal either mind damage or cold damage, which is really nice. It's basically the same as it was. Almost the same as it was with her old uniform, where it was a mixture of lightning and mind damage. Now it's a mixture of cold and mind damage. I think a Rage is going to be best for her because of ABL and ABX, but I think a Judgment would work really well too. So yeah, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with Rogue's uniform. I didn't think they were going to go this far, but it seems that they did. And then Coulson. Coulson's actually pretty good. The icon for him actually looks better than I expected. They kind of gave him the Giga Chad chin, and they reduced his forehead, which is impressive because that thing, you could land a plane on that shit. His uniform effect is actually quite strong. It only affects heroes now instead of all allies. Before it affected all allies, and it gave them 10% all defense, which is pretty shit. Now it gives superheroes 30% HP and 20% basic damage reduction. That's pretty solid for PvP. The rest of his kit is not for PvP, but that's pretty solid for PvP. And it also just, again, makes characters a lot tankier for PvE if you're struggling on high-end World Boss Legend stages that you can use Blast Mail heroes on. And then his passive is basically what I predicted. They kept all of the numbers the same except for the damage to villains. They bumped it by 5%. And then the decreased damage from villains, they bumped it by 5%. So some classic 5% bumps. And then the rest of his kit, surprisingly, is for him, which is very nice. So they changed his old passive, which was some dog shit that I'm not even going to bother reading because it's so bad and so old. They changed it to 40% energy attack and chain hit, which is cool. They gave him some attacks here with freeze damage, or sorry, freeze effect, I should say. Sorry, barrier. And invincibility. They gave him a heal, a 25% heal, which is nice. So he'll actually be like a functional character now. He won't be a meme. And also his 5th skill, Shield Surprise Gift, applies an immunity to all allies. So we'll see if it applies some other sort of buff, if it's similar to Nick Fury's 5th skill, or if it's a little bit different. But yeah, kind of interesting. I think they could have made his kit even more interesting if they had given him iframe ignore and maybe like a counter attack and something else like that. They could have made him a very interesting support character, like an offensive support character. But yeah, we didn't get any of that. So not too hype, but not too bad either. Their cooldowns are pretty short too as well. So yeah, that's about it for the uniforms. For Rogue's tier 4 here, pretty interesting. It applies an effect to enemies called Loss, which deals 30% bonus damage every second for 2 seconds. And it removes active buffs from the target. I don't know if this is going to apply to World Boss Legend. We'll have to see like what content this applies in, because when the loss effect is used, it's unclear here if it has to be used or if it has to apply, but it then buffs her attack. And then it also does damage. It has a 600% damage scaling, so she actually does damage with her tier 4, which is very nice. But yeah, this loss effect with the remove active buff, it seems like a PvP ability. So again, they gave her that plus the all defense and super armor. It's like, man, they gave her, you know, and they bumped up her damage reduction to 30%, which again then gets buffed by another 20%. So that 30% actually ends up being 36% damage reduction. That's not bad. I don't know why they took away her iframe ignore. Like, she really could be a hybrid character if it wasn't for that. So I don't understand. Like, it's what's going on lately. I don't want to rant too long about this, but what's been going on lately with the character designs has been really perplexing, really confusing, and I just don't get it. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me, a lot of players, a lot of content creators reach out to me, expressing their frustration and expressing their confusion about this, and how the devs seem like they don't understand how PvP works anymore, and they don't understand how iframe ignore, like they either don't understand how iframe ignore works, or it seems like, I don't know, it's weird. It seems like they can't give characters iframe ignore anymore. Like, they're running out of iframe ignore. Like, it doesn't make any sense when I say it, but like the fact that they're taking away iframe ignore from characters rather than giving it to them, it's like, are you guys running out of it? Is it like a finite thing? Is it gonna crash the game if too many characters have iframe ignore? Like, is there some sort of coding we don't understand that makes iframe ignore you know, such a sacred, rare ability that you're actually removing it from characters who had it almost 3 years ago? Like, you guys gave it to Rogue with her uniform from 2021, her Excalibur uniform from 2021. You gave her iframe ignore and counterattack, and now you're taking it away. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense. And again, the rest of her kit, right? Her tier 4 ability, her passive, these things synergize. Sorry, her passive. These things synergize with PvP. And then you took away the iframe ignore. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, her tier 4 looks good, but again, it just doesn't make any sense. And then Phil Coulson's tier 3 looks hilarious. He turns into Professor X, and then he pulls out a minigun, and then he turns into Professor X again with legs, and he jumps. It's really funny. Honestly, one of the most meme-worthy animations we've seen in a while, and one of the most unique. Again, I love unique animations. We often badger the devs for copy-pasting tier 3s and copy-pasting transcendences, but this is great. This is great. Super unique. Doesn't feel like anybody else's tier 3. Really, really nice stuff here. I'm glad the devs did something new. I liked seeing the minigun. Maybe we can see some more characters getting miniguns in the future, because miniguns are cool. And yeah, the explosion from the sky also looks really nice. So yeah, kudos to them for a very gorgeous tier 3 skill. You know, you're not going to see it very often, because who the hell is going to be playing with Coulson? But yeah, it's still nice that they did that. You know, it's again, for a character that's kind of a throwaway support, the fact that they gave him a unique tier 3 ability, it's kind of a feels good man moment. And then the new artifacts, again, Phil Coulson's forehead steals the show. Holy shit. I think you could park about 3 Toronto cars on that forehead, so that forehead's probably worth like $1 million a year. And then for his artifact, it's a support artifact, surprise, and it gives superhero allies ignore dodge and increase damage to boss types. It's only 15%. The scaling is pretty low, so a 4-star artifact would be fine. It's going to be like 9% or something like that, which is pretty fine, right? Yeah, and not too valuable, this type of stuff here, because Magneto actually is still better for Blast Mail ABX, where you could use Coulson, but you don't because you use Magneto. We'll see if maybe like Doctor Strange with Coulson maybe can compete with Magneto, but that would be really that, or World Boss would be why you get this artifact. But it's not super valuable for ABL, so don't panic about getting it. And then Rogues, you absolutely need for ABL. Not need, but you want it, because it increases damage to villains, which works for ABL, and then it increases damage to aliens, which works for ABL. Notice that they didn't give her alien and creature So this is the big distinction here. Creature is the Frost Beast for ABX, and Alien is Surtur for ABL. So by giving her Villain and Alien, they're double dipping for ABL, making her like they're super juicing her for ABL basically with the artifact. At least that's how I read it. So yeah, I think this is the kiss of death for Storm ABL. I'm also praying that it is, because fuck if I'm going to tier 4 Storm at this point. And I also really like Rogue, so I would much rather tier 4 Rogue. I really hope she's easy to play as well. I'm getting like mind damage just thinking that she's awful to play. If she plays like Loki or some shit, I'm going to blow my dick off. Yeah. I'm not going to stream that though. Anyways, those are the patch notes. Yeah, that's it. It's a mid-month update. What do you guys expect? There's people in the comments of this thing like crying that the update's so small. It's a mid-month update, guys. Like, I understand your frustration that the game has been dead for like 2 months, but don't blame the mid-month updates. They've always been like this. Your expectations are like all wonky. You gotta blame the What If update, and you gotta blame the Captain Marvel update. Those are the updates that we should be blaming, and we should also be blaming the devs for not stepping in and buffing Hela, not stepping in and buffing Loki, not stepping in and buffing Captain Marvel. That's what we should be blaming them for. Blaming the mid-month uniforms makes no sense, because it's always like this. Anywho, let me know down below in the comments what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button, and I will see you tonight on the live stream. Take care.